Welcome back to Unicorn Garage. Today's video, we're going to be installing an aftermarket spoiler onto our 2013 Mazda 3, aka Snowball 2. Let's get into it. Thanks again for watching this video. If you can, go ahead and give me a like, give me some comments, share the video, subscribe to this channel, or if you're in TikTok, follow me. Thanks again. So, for today's video, you're going to obviously need your spoiler, your risers. Hopefully, your third brake light came pre-wired like this kit. If not, you might want to do some things off screen. In our case, it came pre-wired, so we're going to be utilizing that. Also need some tools. A pick, flathead screwdriver, some dikes, measuring tape, some wire strippers, a blowtorch or lighter, and some heat shrink tubing. Okay, so our first step is going to be actually opening the trunk. And once you're in the trunk, you're going to be wanting to remove every one of these splits. That is because this whole piece of fabric, you're going to want it to come down. I'll explain later. For now, let's just go ahead and get this thing down. I'll do a quick little time lapse. You don't have to wait too long to get to the good stuff. Okay, we now have our little piece of trunk fabric removed. And now, this is why you wanted this stuff removed. See all of your factory wiring. Now, you can tie into any one of these circuits as long as you're just utilizing the positive and negative side. Now, it might add additional resistance, but I think for the most part you should be okay. It's not going to burn anything down. You're going to want to cut and splice into one of these lines. Now, I wanted to initially utilize this third brake light line, but I do not like that both the wires are basically black. One's gray, one's black. So you can almost not tell which one's hotter than that. I still might utilize it because of the location, but yeah, you're going to want to cut into that. You're going to want to splice into that while keeping that, at least a portion of it, intact, so it still gets power as well. Alright guys, so now that you got your trim removed, you will actually need to get some additional tools earlier. You're going to need a drill and drill bits because you'll be making holes in your trunk. That being said, our next step is actually removing our old spoiler. Now, in our our case, we made it a way that it would be secure but not hard to remove. Let me explain. It's pretty secure. It hasn't moved in months since installation, but it's pretty easy to take it off. So I'm going to be utilizing that screwdriver from earlier video and scraping the rest of this residue off, or maybe I'll do as much as I can by hand. But yeah, that's going to be the next zero here. Let's go ahead and jump into that. First step is going to be taking our spoiler out, lining up, see where it wants to land. Now I did a little bit of measuring off screen, and I happen to know it's about a foot down and a foot in as far as these spacers are concerned. So, knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and take my risers here, right? Now, before you start measuring where you want your spacers to land, again, go ahead and just loosely contact your weight. and measure where that is. Let's go ahead and double check that on the other side. Relative to land in the same location. So, there we go. Further on, we're basically dead center right now. I'm going to go ahead and make just a tiny tweak on this one so that it actually is perfectly lined up. And then I'm going to go ahead and make some marks and put some holes. So let's get into that. Alright guys, so now that you've made your marks with either a pen, marker, whatever you got lying around, you're going to want to area, make sure that they line up. In my case, I know they line up. And you're going to want to get a drill bit. Now, the drill bit is actually going to be specific to your hardware size. You're going to want to go slightly bigger so that you have enough to get through. Not so big that you're creating unnecessary gaps in the front of your car. Now, in the case of mine, it came with this little, I guess you could call it all thread, all, something like that. It's basically just a piece of thread with a screwdriver slot on the end. That might not be long enough for my application going through the trunk material into the actual mount riser for the spoiler. So I went in my box of bolts and found the same thread pitch, just slightly longer. We're going to be utilizing those. So with your follow through, you'll want to go to your various drill bits. That's looking pretty close to me. I'm going to start with that one, but I will also do a pilot hole first, just to make sure I don't make it too perfect. That being said, let's go ahead and jump to another little B-roll segment. You're going to see me doing a couple of drills here and getting my mounts just perfectly aligned. original measurements, I can see we're off by about an inch. That's okay, that's why we did one hole first. So, we're going to use the second hole. We know basically where we're going. Go ahead and drill that out, get our second screw set up, and make sure everything is relatively where it needs to be. Time log in 3, 2, now. Okay, let's go ahead and test fit. See how close we got here. All right. All right. Yeah. That's basically where we want to be. So knowing that, very spoiler. It's drill time again. Got our little marks here, right where those second ports were exactly orientated. As before, shoot some pilot holes, the bigger hole, shoot the final hole, and then get some screws to make sure everything's just right. Let's go ahead. As you can see, it's perfectly centered and actually secured. So now we're going to proceed to our next step. We're going to take this hole right here and then let in the riser and drill a hole for a little electrical line to go through. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, we have our spoiler fully attached now. Let's go ahead and wire it. So, like I said, when you were setting up your risers, you should have made your pilot hole for your cabling. And I think I'm going to place it right there. That just feels nice and wonderful to me. So let me go ahead and get my let's go down here. cable. I want to give myself a lot. I need a lot of extra kilos here. Now, some people like to use wire nuts. Some people like to use solder. Some people like to do their own thing. I'm one of those people that kind of do my own thing. What I like to do, cut, twist, and combine. Then I use my heat shrink tubing as the final piece to actually keep it all sealed together and tight. Just like that, your spoiler brake light should be wired. Let's go ahead and test that. Did it work, guys? We see in the video, right? It looked like they were all working there. Now I do see when I was painting this earlier, this little bit of section. So I'm just gonna quickly do that real quick and let it warm up, let it dry here. the second episode of making Snowball 2 look fast. There will be more episodes, and there will be a series where we actually make Snowball actually fast. I've started ordering parts for that in the background, but that series is coming soon. We're still going to work on this series in the meantime. I gotta say, I love the look of this spoiler. It looks fun, it looks interesting, it doesn't look trashy. To me, this is absolute win. I'm the original Very Old Unicorn. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.